Hey, good morning, everyone. It is Jonathan Mathis. Welcome to another episode of Speaking with Judgment by your host, Jonathan Mathis, aka the Sports Judge. Happy Saturday to you all. It is Saturday, April 22nd, and the sports world, as always, is buzzing with a lot of stuff. We got great topics for you today. We are live streaming from Facebook, from the fan page, and we are also streaming live from the YouTube channel. And what is happening, big baby? Good morning. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching the show. As always, it is a pleasure to have you guys on. I know there are a variety of choices out there, and there are so many people who are into podcasting. Man, we got a lot to get into today. We got to get into the Jameis Williams situation. We got to talk a little bit about that. The Detroit Lions have found themselves at the center of a gambling problem. We'll get into that. And the Oakland A's are on the move. The Oakland A's have struck a deal to move the team to Vegas. We'll get into that. We'll also get into NBA playoffs. There's a lot happening there. We'll talk about that. My Lakers play today. As you guys can see, I'm rocking the shirt. I'm ready to go. I got the attire. It's going to be a good game tonight. I think the Lakers will respond. I think the Lakers will play with a vengeance tonight after Dylan Brooks has been running his mouth. We'll get into that. We got a lot of stuff for you today. So, there's a lot on the docket. We'll start with the NBA playoffs, man. We'll start off there. It's getting good. It's getting good. You saw the Knicks game last night. It was a 90s party at MSG. I mean, there was some legends in the house, and I felt a sense of joy to see those guys again. It was a feeling of it had me feeling nostalgic in a sense, I can say, to see a lot of old faces from back in the day in the Madison Square Garden, and the raucous Madison Square Garden crowd was on their feet. The Knicks themselves, it was a throwback. For the ages. And the Knicks, man, they took care of business on their home floor. It was just like the good old days. A packed garden for a playoff game, a fierce battle. It was it was a great game. I thought the Knicks defense carried them to victory. They cranked up the music. It was just lively in the building. It was great to see. 90s Knicks basketball is back, and the Knicks, man, they played a great game. They're back in the series. Do they win the series? I don't know about that, because Cleveland, man, they can ball too. But the Knicks looked very, very good last night. It was an important win for the New York Knicks. The Knicks stifling defense took care of business in a 99-79 win. It was a blowout over Cleveland. And for the first time all season, a team was held below 80 points. So that tells you that the defense did their job, and they can be that aggressive on that end of the floor. The Knicks looked really good. They looked really, really good last night. You got to love what you saw from the New York Knicks if you're a Knicks fan. And, the Garden is an iconic place. It's an iconic place, but there's no joking around with these Knicks. These Knicks look really, really good. Emmanuel Quickly, if he can overcome his struggles, watch out. They just got to have that same energy. They got to come out and play hard. And if they play hard, they'll be a tough team to beat in the East. You got Jalen Brunson, who's doing his thing. Jalen Brunson, to me, is a very, very underrated player. Very unappreciated. Doesn't get the respect and love that he deserves. And I think it's fair to give this man his flowers, right? Isn't it fair to give this man his flowers? Wouldn't you say that? because I knew he was good, but I didn't think he was this good, right? That good of a player. But he's really, really good. You watch him play, he kicks ass. You know, he can initiate the offense. He can get things rolling for the New York Knicks. And I apologize for all the background noise, but bear with me. We'll get through this. I promise you we will. But the New York Knicks, man, they killed it last night defensively. And that's the Knicks. That's their philosophy, right? That's their game plan because they have a defensive-minded coach. And as long as I've remembered them, they've always been a defensive-oriented team. It's always been defense first, offense second. Jalen Brunson, by the way, is the first New York Knicks player to drop 20 points and 5 assists in back-to-back playoff games since Patrick Ewing in the 90s. You know, but this was an absolute masterclass on defense. And, you know, Chris Jose LeBron, my good friend who follows the Knicks closely, he brought this up yesterday. He said it himself. It was an absolute masterclass on defense. Absolute masterclass. And the Knicks, they went wild last night. They went wild on the defensive side of the basketball. They definitely went wild. And that's how they ended up winning the game, because of their defensive intensity and their toughness. What's up, Andre? Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. We're talking about the New York Knicks. We're chatting it up about the New York Knicks. We're talking about the NBA playoffs here. We're having a little discussion about the Knicks and how well they played last night and how they performed on the big stage. They were absolutely solid on the defensive side of the ball. Played really well. Looked really good. And now they have a chance to tie the series. It's a ball game again. They're back in the series. And you saw how their defense performed. Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein smothered the Cavaliers. And they had fun all night last night. They had fun. They smothered them. They trapped them. They didn't make it easy for the Knicks. And, you know, game 3 was pivotal. And they handled it. And, I mean, the stress levels at times was high in the game. But the Knicks clearly played one hell of a game. And they outdid the Cavaliers to pull out the victory. Can they win this series? That remains to be seen. That really remains to be seen. But it showed on both of Robinson's block shots how tough he can be, how mentally tough he is. A swat of Donovan Mitchell, three-pointer, and a rejection of Darius Garland layup. And coming in, I think the Knicks had that mindset, right? They had the mindset that they were going to come with this defensive strategy, and they did just that. They were able to shut it down. You know, they protected the paint. They kept them out of the lane. They didn't really make it easy. The Knicks didn't make it easy for the Cavaliers at all. The Knicks forced 21 turnovers and held the Cavaliers to 39% overall shooting and 21% from beyond the three-point arc. Cleveland missed open shots. Garland, who tore up the Knicks in game 2, I mean, this guy went off in game 2, was so off that he was airballing jump shots without anyone around him. It was that kind of night. It was that tough. They made it difficult for the Cavaliers to score. Will they stick with the same game plan going into game 4? If it works, why not stick with it? You can't fix something that isn't broken, right? Just stay with the same game plan. Yes, Andre, they played amazing defense on Mitchell, and props to the centers for finally doing their job on the glass. And I feel like this too, Andre. If you shut down Donovan Mitchell, that takes away a huge chunk of their offense because he's that explosive scorer. I feel like when he's on his game, everyone else is on their game. That's how contagious he is to that team. That's how much of an impact, scoring-wise, Donovan Mitchell makes on that team. So I feel like if you don't get good numbers from Donovan Mitchell, and if he's not having his best night productively, you're not going to get much from everybody else. Now, I know what they did in game 2. Everyone else stepped up, Garland, other guys, and I believe Donovan Mitchell didn't even have 30-plus points in that game. He settled for less, and they still were able to pull away with the victory, and they found a way to grind it out. But the Knicks, man, the Knicks look really good, and their offense is pretty good as well. It's fun to watch this team in terms of night-to-night value. You got guys that can score. You got a true guard now. You got guys who play defense. So they're really great at defending the basketball. They're really great at putting the ball in the basket. And it was a great win for the Knicks. I can't see them winning all the remaining games if they play like this and beating the Cavs. It will be a gentleman's sweep. And this squad, like I said, is a ton of fun to watch. It really is a lot of fun to watch. And then we're going to switch gears now. We're going to get into the Denver Nuggets because Denver Nuggets, to me, is one of the most complete teams in the NBA. I don't think anyone has ever denied that. You got one of the best big men in the game in Jokic. And Jokic is a triple-double machine. This guy continues to perform night in and night out. He's tough. He's tough. He's mentally and physically tough. He's hard to guard. And now the Denver Nuggets, man, they cruise to a 3-0 serious lead in Minnesota. They are now just one win away from the Western Conference semifinals. And I think this is a sweep. I think the Nuggets will sweep the Timberwolves. Now, I thought that this would be a more competitive series. You guys might have heard me talk about that a little bit before the series got underway. And I was saying that the Timberwolves could be a tough 8 seed for the top seeded Nuggets. Well, apparently I was wrong. But when you watch this Nuggets team play, what do you see? You see one of the most complete rosters in the NBA. You got a glue guy in Aaron Gordon. You got one of the best big men in the league who is a transcendent superstar. You got a potent guard in Jamal Murray. You got Michael Porter Jr., who is finally living up to his contract. And then you are exceptionally well coached. And you have a pretty quality bench with KCP coming off the bench. You got guys that can come off the bench and ignite the offense. So I just feel like everything is going in the Nuggets, in the Nuggets' favor, and everything is going their way. And then they defend really well, too. That's another great thing about the Nuggets. They know how to defend. You gotta love this team because it's one of the most exciting teams in basketball. No question about it. And Rudy Gobert cannot match the level of intensity when he's facing a guy like Jokic. Jokic is going to have his way against Rudy Gobert and this Minnesota Timberwolves team. And from the beginning, I didn't even think the Minnesota was going to make it in the play-in. I think a lot of people felt that way too. A lot of people felt the Pelicans were a better team. Yet here we are talking about the Timberwolves moments away from getting swept. But people better recognize the number one seed. And a lot of people in recent weeks, you saw a little bit of a fall from the Nuggets. The Nuggets weren't performing at such a high level. And I mean, it's hard to sustain a level of dominance for an entire season. That's not realistic. You're going to have some bumps in the road. And the Denver Nuggets, I felt like they hit some bumps in the road and people got a little concerned. People kind of pushed the panic button a bit. And here we are talking about the Denver Nuggets as they sit one win away from sweeping the Minnesota Timberwolves. Denver is clicking on all cylinders. Pay attention. Look at what this team is doing. I think they match up really well against any team in the West. I don't see the Suns. I don't think the Suns can beat up on the Nuggets. Let's say they advance. I don't even think the Clippers stand a chance against the Denver Nuggets. I don't think anyone can solve a team that is this healthy and that is this fundamentally sound. Teams won't overcome a healthy Nuggets team. That's not happening. And Jokic with another triple-double with 0 free throw attempts, that's impressive stuff. That's impressive stuff. He's killing it. And yes, I can see that, Andre. I can see the Nuggets coming out of the West this year. And I'm a Laker fan. I hope the Lakers can prove me wrong and come out on top of the West. But looking at this from an objective lens, seeing this through an objective lens, I will have to say that the Denver Nuggets right about now are favorites to win the West. They are favorites to win the West. Best team in the West. No question about it. Best team in the West. And the Nuggets, they keep pulling up and getting that dub. I know it would be premature to celebrate, but if this team advances to the next level, they're gonna create a lot of problems for teams moving forward. I think that's fair to say. And I like Jokic. Jokic is not the MVP, though. He is not the MVP. But Jokic is a guy who would power through any injury to make his team win. He makes guys around him better on the floor. He averages triple doubles. He's a great all-around player. His footwork is nice. He can get inside the paint, bully you, make difficult shots. Jokic is that guy. Jokic is that guy. And Jokic has shown that he can single-handedly carry his team. He can single-handedly carry his team. He showed that last season. He dragged his team to the playoffs with limited talent due to injuries, was able to get his team to the next round because that's how special of a player that Jokic is. The Nuggets remind you of the Boston Celtics. Now, what I mean by that, the Boston Celtics, when you look at the Boston Celtics and their roster and how they're constructed, they're one of the most complete teams. There's no question that they're the most complete team in the Eastern Conference. We know that much about them. They got so much depth. They got depth for days on that roster. And the Celtics remind me of the Nuggets because of how complete they are, which leads me to my next topic, the Celtics and the Atlanta Hawks. Now, the Hawks were able to avoid going down 3-0. They were able to turn it into a series. And guys, I will tell you this. You don't make it a series until you tie the series. Because look, the Celtics still have a stranglehold on the Hawks. You got to win one more game for me to take you seriously. You got to tie the series 2-2 to make it a series for me. And I don't see the Hawks beating the Boston Celtics. I think this could be a gentleman's sweep. Now, I get it. The Hawks punched back to beat the Celtics in Game 3 with impressive shot making. It seemed like everyone in that game had a plan. They struck first, it seemed. And then they were able to outlast the Celtics as they tried to regain control of the series. Now, I don't see them regaining control of the series. I don't see them tying the series. You have to tie the series first before you regain control. But the Celtics have been getting what they want for most of this series against the Hawks. They come out with a game plan. They have executed it well. They have attacked the Hawks. But now you see the Hawks responding in a sense that things are a little interesting. How interesting? Not that interesting, because the Celtics, they everyone's gonna have a bad game here or there, right? I think the Celtics will go back to the drawing board. I think they'll get back to basics and they'll be fine. They'll be fine. The Celtics again put out a good game plan, and Joe Mazzulla's team executed well, but it didn't matter because the Hawks kept hitting them with a blow after blow in crunch time. And the Celtics did just about everything they could to hold Atlanta back. It didn't matter. The Hawks were just on fire. The Hawks were just knocking down shots. And the Hawks needed this win. They knew how serious it was. And sometimes when you come back home and you're on your home floor, in front of your home crowd, in front of your home crowd, that sense of urgency kind of kicks in, right? You're playing in front of your home crowd. You're fired up. You're feeling good. Your home crowd kind of gets you going. And you're able to galvanize the home crowd as well. And yes, Murray is proving his worth this series. Murray is able to maximize his talent with this Atlanta team. We didn't know much about him when he was with the Spurs. We knew he had the potential. We knew he was a budding star growing to be something special, but we didn't know he was going to be this special. And I think when you look at that backcourt with Trae Young, and no one knows what Trae Young's future looks like because there's been rumors about him being traded and all of this. But when you look at those two in the backcourt, they really make that offense go. They're the two guys that really dictate the flow of that offense. And, they really, really played. They showed up and played. And then you look at the bench. You look at what the bench did. Things turned in the second quarter when the Hawks bench unit came in and they could not miss. You saw Bay. He went on a nice run to make it close. And then you had Bogdanovich. He went 6 for 6 in the half in the second quarter. So it was near perfection from Atlanta. Again, Atlanta just was knocking down their shots. They just outshot the Celtics. They outshot the Celtics. They shot them out of the gym. And that's what they did. And that's how they was able to win the game. They made some tough shots. And they were back in front of their crowd. They were that gave them a little boost. When you come home, that's what it does. It gives you a little boost. So I mean, Atlanta just looked really good. And this was the first game of the series where Trae Young and Murray kept the pressure on the Celtics from start to finish, especially in crunch time. They were able to seal the deal for the Atlanta Hawks. And they offered the Celtics a reminder that in the postseason, great players can hit perfectly contested shots if you let them get their spots. And that's what they did. They were able to get their spots. They squared up. They knocked down the shots. I'm going back to that one play where Murray was defended by his ex-teammate, White. And, he squared up from the corner and knocked down the three over his former teammate. And then he pointed at him. That's the kind of night that he was having. I mean, it was a competitive night. And Young, he finished the night with 32 points and 9 assists, started to find some ways to take advantage of Derek White, who he matched up with. And let's keep it real. Derek White has plagued him all series. White has been able to kind of stay in front of him, has made it a little bit more difficult for him. But this time, Trae Young was able to get anything he wanted. And that's how it all went. And Trae Young, man, I mean, he's just amazing. He's just amazing knocking down that floater. That's what he's known for, his floaters. And they're so smooth when they're in the air. They're so smooth, and they're about to fall into the basket. That's where he kills you with his floaters. This guy will hustle his way down the floor and hit you with the floater. And that's just how good of a player Trae Young is. I mean, that we're talking about a guy with ice water in his veins, kind of like what we saw with Maxey the other night. And then, the Hawks, too, they're well coached. I like Quinn Snyder. Quinn Snyder is made for the playoffs. He's a great coach. Great coach. Always has his team prepared for the big moments, and that's how it usually goes. But we got some good playoff basketball. It's getting intense. It's going to be really, really good. I like the playoffs. I'm in playoff mode for sure. I know most of you guys are. We're gonna move on though. We're gonna switch over to the NFL. There's a big story in the NFL right now involving Jameson Williams and 4 other Detroit Lions who were suspended for gambling. So 4 Detroit Lion players were suspended by the NFL for gambling, including first-round pick Jameson Williams. The Lions responded by releasing 2 who bet on NFL games. So there's a bit of a problem here. And this is going to be a problem. There's going to be players who try to break the rules. There's always going to be a player that tries to break the rule. That's just how it is, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to always be that way. So there's going to be players who's going to gamble. I mean, it's human nature, right? But I get it. The NFL is trying to make sure that they treat gambling seriously because they want the shield of integrity to remain intact. But how do you regulate players from gambling? Because I'm sure there are other players out there who are betting on games and just haven't been caught. But we saw a little bit over a year ago, or over a year and a half ago, Calvin Ridley been suspended for a season for betting on games. So I think the NFL is trying to put its foot down on gambling. Like, hey, this is not going to happen. And the other guys who have been suspended is safety CJ Moore and wide receiver Quintez, however you pronounce his last name. I'm not even going to try. Cephas, I don't know, have been suspended indefinitely for gambling on NFL games and have been released by the Lions effective immediately. Wide receivers Jameson Williams and Stanley Berryhill have each been suspended 6 games for gambling on non-NFL games while on an NFL facility. So they were in a facility gambling on, from my understanding, college football games. The NFL, I believe, released a statement, the Lions general manager, Brad Holmes, offered this official statement on the news. As a result of an NFL investigation, it came to our attention that a few of our players had violated the league's gambling policy. These players exhibited decision making that is not consistent with our organizational values and violates league rules. We have made the decision to part ways with Quintez and CJ immediately. We are disappointed by the decision making demonstrated by Stanley and Jameson, and will work with both players to ensure they understand the severity of these violations and have clarity on the league rules moving forward. According to the league rules, Williams and Berryhill will be permitted to participate in off-season activities, including preseason games. However, their suspension will begin at the beginning of the league year. They will be permitted after 3 weeks to have a warm-up period to help acclimate them and get them ready to go by the team's 7th game. This is obviously disappointing news for these 4 players. And I mean, it adds a level of frustration to Jameson Williams' career. It really does. But again, this is the kind of stuff that's going to happen. A lot of people feel like this, that the suspension is a joke. That, the NFL has other serious matters on their hands and they worry more about gambling than they do domestic violence or any other thing that happens around the league. You look at the Watson situation and the sexual assault allegations. You look at other serious situations and you be like, damn, this is not that serious. And then you have people that is okay with him being suspended because a lot of people is like, well, did you learn from Calvin Ridley? Did you learn from his mistake? Did you see the NFL use him as an example? But I mean, I don't know how the hell can they be suspended for betting on a different game? I mean, it's not like they're betting on an NFL game. The NFL is another league that's very inconsistent when it comes to dropping the hammer on players. We talked about this before. But allegedly, a lot of them bet. And we know the legalization. We know that betting has been legalized. We understand that. But as the Lions organization, it is completely disappointing. I'm sure a lot of people and the Lions themselves were excited about this season, and now this just completely kills the whole vibe. They were looking strong. People were excited about Williams. And now it's just all an absolute mess. It's a distraction. That's what it is. It's a distraction around the organization. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's a distraction. And when I said the integrity of the Shield, I was repeating what Pat McAfee has said in his show. The integrity of the shield remains intact because that's what he said. Those were his words, by the way. But can you imagine missing out on your 4th season and never playing a game, falling short of being vested by 1 year? I mean, was it really worth it? Was it really worth jeopardizing your career? I mean, you got to think smart because you know how the NFL thinks. You know how the NFL feels about gambling. You saw what happened with Calvin Ridley. So if you already know, then why would you even try to beat the system and get away with it? I think the NFL priorities are out of whack. I think the sports betting legalization will be the most harmful decision for sports for the next decade, I think, because you will continue to have all these stories about players betting on teams. It's going to happen. But gambling has been around games for a long time. It has been an ongoing issue in the NFL for a long time. These latest incidents sound more like a boundary violation. It really does when you look at the whole situation. But I mean, when you look at this situation too, CJ Moore to me was the surprise violator. He really was. The other Lions were the youngest receivers, hanging out at work and making bets. So I can see why Moore, got what he got. But the hope is that they learn from this moving forward, right? That's the hope moving forward, is that they learn from this and that they don't make this mistake again. But there's a lot of examples like this where player-involved gambling could have far-reaching impacts on other bettors. And again, this is not the first time, and it certainly won't be the last time. There will be another story out there of a player who was involved in betting, in sports betting. It's going to happen, folks. This suspension was brought to you by DraftKings, to add a little humor to it. It's going to happen. I don't think there's any way you could really regulate this situation. You could hit them with a hard suspension. But will they learn from that? Here's the only way I think you can end this. It's put an end to this. Is a lifetime ban. But isn't that a bit too harsh to ban someone for a lifetime? Especially if they're a first-time offender. I can see if they're a repeat offender, then you might punish them severely or come up with another solution. But no, the players get suspended, and then it is what it is. The players get suspended. Then on the bottom on the article, there's an ad for DraftKings. If you read a lot of these articles, there's an ad for DraftKings on the bottom. It sounds a little bit like it's hypocrisy in a way. You promote DraftKings, but yet when your players go to bet, they get in trouble for it. But there's a reason sports gambling was illegal for a long time. I get it. But there's a reason why it's legal now. You know, it is what it is. But players obviously are going to get caught for this kind of stuff. It's just going to keep happening. It happens more than you know. It happens more than you realize. These individuals just don't get caught. And a lot haven't been caught, and a lot won't get caught. It's kind of like baseball. When you look at the steroid situation, you see all these players who are juicing. Not everyone's going to get caught. You go back to the late 90s, early 2000s. I'm pretty sure 90% of baseball was on steroids. They just didn't get caught. Their names just wasn't on a list. You know, and there's certain people that we target when they get caught. And there are certain people who will get caught, but they won't be heavily scrutinized, or it won't be publicized as much as some of the other stories. That's how it usually goes. Certain players get more publicity than others. We've seen that many times as well. You know, but it's going to always happen. But the hope is that they learn from this. The hope is that they don't get involved in this again, or this happens another time around. That's the hope here, right? Moving on before I wrap up the show. We're going to talk a little bit about the Oakland A's. As you guys know, the Oakland A's have struck a deal to move to Vegas. The team will be moving to Las Vegas. Oakland is losing another professional sports team. Yes, you heard correctly. They're losing another sports team. Another sports team. Can you believe that? Oakland is losing another sports team. Yes, you heard me correctly. One more time. Oakland is losing another sports team. And now the fans are suddenly pissed off about it. Well, where were you last year before this deal even got struck? Before this deal got done? Where were you guys? Oakland fans are finally making their voice be heard when they had a number of years to let their voice be heard. Why all of a sudden, now that the team is deciding to leave, you decide to speak up, fans? And I love Oakland. I like the city of Oakland. I like the Bay Area. Their fans are passionate. They have a lot of great fans out there. The Bay Area has great sports fans. But that place was so empty for so many years. And now Oakland fans want to protest by showing up to the Coliseum, a place that's changed its name so many times. I mean, that I just started calling it the Coliseum because the name, it was McAfee Coliseum, it was Overstock Coliseum. It has so many names. So I just started calling it the Coliseum. But I'm hearing that the fans are preparing to show up and sell out the Coliseum as a way to prove a point that they want to keep the team in Oakland, that they do care about the team. They just were upset because of the product that was on the field. Well, when you have a guy that's playing, when you have a guy that's doesn't really believe in getting big name talent and relies heavily on his farm system, you've seen what the Oakland A's have done in previous years. Everyone knows what this team has done. They have had a number of fire sales. They have had a number of fire sales, getting rid of good talent and relying heavily on their damn farm system. That's how the Oakland A's are. But now they're on the move to Vegas, and Oakland unbelievably lost all three of its pro sports teams in just 5 years. It's sad. It's unfortunate for the city of Oakland. And I wonder if a lot of these fans are going to stick by this team. Because now a fan base, now if you're the Oakland A's, you're basically alienating your fan base. Kind of like what the San Diego Chargers did. The formerly known as the San Diego Chargers. Kind of like what they did. They alienated half of their fan base. A lot of those fans out there don't even care about the Chargers anymore. They disowned the franchise. They want no parts of the franchise. I feel like that's what's going to happen with the Oakland Athletics. Now that they're finalizing plans for a new stadium in Las Vegas. Now, yes, it will bring in more revenue because sports, we all know, is a money-making business. So, yes, you will make more money in Vegas. Maybe your franchise will be more valued in Vegas. Maybe you'll have a better turnout. Maybe the fans in Vegas will be happy to have a baseball team. They'll actually show up to the ballpark. But the loyal professional sports fans that have actually reside in the city of Oakland, they feel like they're being left in the dark. And when the Athletics leave for Nevada, their departure will mark Oakland losing its third and final pro sports team in the last 4 years. It's crazy. The Golden State Warriors, while still in the Bay Area, actually played their home games in San Francisco now. They used to play in Oakland, in the old Oracle Arena. They have been in their new state-of-the-art stadium, their waterfront stadium, since 2019 when it opened its door. Then the Raiders made their move to Las Vegas official in 2020. Now, after years of the Athletics hurting their fans by not investing much in the on-field product, they too will leave for Vegas. It's a sad story for a city that undoubtedly had so much love for the Athletics. For not only the Athletics, but for the Warriors and the Raiders. These respective fan bases deserve better. They deserve someone to cheer for. But at the same time, you also have to show you care when the team is not begging to leave. You had all these opportunities to speak up. Let your voice be heard. Tell the team, tell the organization how you feel. Don't wait until they strike a deal and then all of a sudden you're crying. Now there's a public outcry because this team is leaving. It's official. The Oakland Athletics are leaving the Bay Area to go to the desert in Nevada, where they will be making their new home. And Vegas is now just one team away from becoming a pro sports, how would I say it? A 4-team major sports city. A 4-team major sports city. They're one team away. All they need now is the basketball team. And I think they will, down the road, in the near future, will get an expansion team in Vegas. The NBA will. Vegas has become a 4-team pro major sports city. And you know, Vegas is the mecca of sports because you got sports betting there, you got the casinos. It's a city where something is always happening. I think it's a great atmosphere. I think it attracts fans. And I think because of the appeal, I think it will attract more fans. You know, and I know there's a lot to do because you got the casinos, you got the shows, you got the great food, you got the prime rib. You ever go to Pink Pony? I don't know if that restaurant is still there inside Circus. Oh, man, the best prime rib you'll get. Good prime. We're talking about good prime rib. So there's a lot of distractions in Vegas, but at the same time, you got some sports teams. If you're a sports fan, There's venues out there now. There's places you can go. You got the hockey team, got the Vegas Golden Knights. They got things started. And then the Raiders followed. And now you're about to have a baseball team. And I know that new stadium is going to be built with a retractable roof because it gets pretty, let me tell you, it gets pretty hot in Vegas. And I mean, that heat is miserable. So you definitely have to have a retractable roof with an AC unit installed in that stadium. Because if not, that would be very miserable to sit out there on 100-degree days or triple digit heat, basically fighting for your life. Because I mean that weather there is it gets brutal. It gets brutal. Let me tell you. But again, the Vegas, the Oakland A's will become the Vegas A's as they will move to Las Vegas. And we knew this was coming. We knew the day was coming because there had been talks about it, So we kind of knew this is where it was heading. We had an idea already. And sure enough, it is a done deal. Before I go, if anyone's still watching, what is your favorite sport? If you have a favorite sport, let me know in the comment column and we'll talk about it. I'm about to wrap this show up. It's been an awesome show. It's been fun chatting with you guys for the last 50 minutes or so. It's been great, as always. And I'll be back in another show real soon, as always, Speaking with Judgment, hosted by me. It's always a lot of fun. I always have a blast chatting sports with you guys. And I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in because, as I always say, there's a variety of shows out there. And I'm not the only one doing these shows. So I really appreciate the love and the support. Thank you guys so much. Without you guys, none of this is possible. So I'm truly grateful and thankful. And you guys have a wonderful day. There's a lot of games today. There's a lot of baseball. There's a lot of NBA. There's more NBA playoff games. The Lakers play tonight. As you guys can see, I'm game ready. I'm ready for the game. I'm hyped up. I think the Lakers will bounce back and win tonight's contest. But till next time, you guys take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And I'll see you guys most likely on Monday. I think I'm going to enjoy the rest of my weekend. I'll be back with another show on Monday. You can find me right here on the Sports Judge fan page. And you guys can also find me on my YouTube channel. Before I go, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just look me up on YouTube. Type in the Sports Judge. Type in the Sports Judge. And you should see me pop up and subscribe. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. But till next time, I'm checking out of here now. Peace.